The mysterious stranger. The night was silent at Outpost Helios, a small human base far from any big city or busy planet. Commander Ethan Reeves was sleeping in his simple metal bed, lost in a dream he would not remember in the morning. A soft hum from the power generator echoed in the room, mixing with the low sound of the wind outside. It was supposed to be a normal night, but then Ethan woke up. He was not sure why. Maybe it was the chill in the air or the feeling that something was different. He turned on his side and blinked, his eyes adjusting to the darkness. Suddenly, he noticed a shadowy figure standing at the end of his bed. Ethan's body tensed. He reached quietly for the emergency button near his pillow, his heart beating fast. The figure stepped forward, moving smoothly and quietly. Now Ethan could see her clearly in the pale blue moonlight coming through the window. She was a young woman, at least she looked young. Her skin was pale and almost glowed in the dark. Long silver hair flowed over her shoulders, shining softly. Her eyes were not normal. They were big, with shining blue pupils, and thin metallic lines ran down her cheeks and neck. Ethan realized she was not human. She was an alien and not just any alien, but a cyborg, part machine, part living being. Before Ethan could say anything, the girl spoke. Her voice was gentle but strong, with a strange musical tone. "Ethan, don't you remember me?" she asked, stepping even closer. Ethan shook his head, still half in shock. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" he demanded, trying to sound brave, though he felt scared inside. The girl's face softened, her glowing eyes full of sadness. "My name is Lyra," she said quietly. "I am your wife. You don't remember, do you?" The words hit Ethan like a punch. His wife? Was this some kind of trick? He stared at her, confused and angry. "That's not possible. I don't even know you," he replied. Lyra stepped closer, her hand reaching out as if to comfort him. Ethan pulled back, unsure if she was dangerous. She stopped and looked down. For a moment, there was only silence. Then Lyra pulled out a small crystal device from a pocket on her suit. The device glowed softly in her hand. "This is your memory crystal," she explained. "It will help you remember. They took your memories away to protect us both." Ethan did not understand. Who was they? Why would anyone erase his memory? He stared at the crystal, feeling a strange urge to touch it. But he hesitated, his mind full of questions. Lyra placed the crystal on the table between them. "Just hold it, please. You will see the truth," she said softly. Ethan slowly reached out and picked up the crystal. As soon as his fingers closed around it, a sudden warmth spread through his hand and up his arm. Images flashed in his mind, strange, blurry visions of another world, a bright ceremony, music he didn't recognize, and a smiling silver-haired girl standing beside him. For a moment, he felt a deep happiness and love, but it was all out of reach, as if it belonged to another man. Ethan gasped and dropped the crystal. He pressed his hand to his forehead, feeling dizzy. Lyra watched him with worried eyes. "Do you remember anything?" she asked hopefully. Ethan shook his head. "I saw something, but it doesn't feel real. I'm sorry." "I don't know you." Lyra's face fell. For a moment, she looked as if she might cry, but then she stood straight and wiped her eyes. "They are coming for us, Ethan," she whispered. "You have to trust me, even if you can't remember." Suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the outpost. Red warning lights flashed, filling the room with harsh, blinking color. The computer's cold voice spoke over the speakers. "Alert! Unidentified ship approaching. Security breach in Sector 4. Ethan jumped up, all his training kicking in. He turned to Lyra. "What's happening? Is this your doing?" he shouted. Lyra shook her head quickly. "No, it's them. They found us. We have to leave now, Ethan. Please trust me." Ethan hesitated for just a second. Everything felt wrong, but somehow, deep inside, he wanted to trust her. The memory. Flashes, the crystal, the sadness in her eyes, it all pulled at him. He grabbed his emergency jacket and nodded. Fine, let's go. But if this is a trick, I won't let you get away. Lyra gave a small, sad smile. You will remember, Ethan, I promise. They slipped out of the room together, moving quickly. Down the dark halls as the outpost shook from the landing of the unknown ship. Ethan's old life was gone in an instant, and ahead of him waited a new story, one filled with secrets, danger, and maybe the truth about his mysterious alien cyborg wife. The forgotten wedding. The outpost's narrow hallways echoed with the sound of alarms. Red lights blinked, making strange shadows on the metal walls as Ethan and Lyra rushed through the darkness. Every second, the danger outside grew closer. Ethan kept glancing at the silver-haired alien beside him. Who was she, really? And why did she insist they were married? Lyra led Ethan through a hidden door behind the old food storage room. The secret path was cold and damp, unused for years. As the door closed behind them, Ethan heard the distant voices of security guards and heavy footsteps running the other way. They moved quickly and quietly. Lyra always just one step ahead. She seemed to know every twist and turn, as if she had studied blueprints of the outpost. Ethan felt out of place, following someone he didn't know. Yet every time he looked at her, something inside him whispered that he should trust her. At the end of the passage, Lyra stopped and looked back. She pulled the small glowing crystal from her pocket and handed it to Ethan again. You have to remember, Ethan, she said. It's not safe if you don't. Ethan hesitated, but Lyra pressed the crystal gently into his palm. The moment he touched it, the world seemed to spin. Suddenly, Ethan found himself somewhere else, inside a memory that felt both real and impossible. He stood on a wide, shimmering platform under a sky filled with two bright moons. Strange, beautiful. Music played, and hundreds of alien guests in colorful robes filled the area, laughing and celebrating. Lights floated above their heads like little stars. In the center stood Lyra, dressed in a glowing silver dress. Metal lines on her arms sparkled like diamonds. She smiled at Ethan, and in this memory, he smiled back, feeling truly happy. A group of elders with golden headbands stepped forward. They placed their hands on Ethan and Lyra's shoulders, joining them together. This union is not only of two souls, one elder said, but of two worlds, human and cyborg. Let peace begin with you. Ethan remembered promising to protect Lyra, no matter what happened. They kissed, and the crowd cheered. For a moment, everything was perfect. Then, the vision blurred. Angry voices echoed through the memory. Some guests turned away, their faces hard and unfriendly. Shadows moved among the crowd, and Ethan felt a cold chill. Suddenly, masked figures stormed the ceremony, firing energy blasts into the air. Panic spread, and Lyra screamed for Ethan to run. The memory ended. Ethan fell to his knees in the secret hallway, sweating and shaking. The crystal rolled away from his hand. Lyra knelt beside him, her face full of worry. What did you see? She asked quietly. Ethan looked at her with wide eyes. I saw a wedding. Our wedding. It was beautiful, but then everything turned dark. Who attacked us? Lyra glanced at the door, listening for footsteps. Those were the ones who hate peace. They want to keep our worlds fighting. They're the reason your memory was erased. They would kill both of us to keep the truth hidden. Ethan stared at her, struggling to believe what he had seen. The feelings from the vision still tingled in his heart, love, hope, and a fear. He couldn't explain. How did I forget all this? He whispered. They used Forbidden's technology, Lyra replied softly. Memory erasers. They wiped your mind so you would forget me and forget our promise. I found you again because I could never give up on us. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind the secret door. The sound of blasters and shouting filled the passage. Lyra stood up, grabbing Ethan's hand. "They found us. We have to move." Ethan tried to stand, but his legs felt weak. The memories had shaken him more than he wanted to admit. Still, he forced himself forward, trusting Lyra's strength. They hurried down another dark tunnel. At the end, a metal ladder led up to a hidden exit above the outpost. Lyra climbed first, moving fast and silent. Ethan followed, trying not to think about how much his life had changed in one night. When they reached the surface, the cold wind hit their faces. Above them, a giant ship hovered in the sky, blocking out the stars. It was nothing like any human ship Ethan had ever seen. Its dark shape looked both alien and menacing. With bright red lights shining like eyes, Lyra pointed to a small craft hidden under some rocks. "That's our escape pod. Hurry," she said. Ethan wanted to ask more questions, but there was no time. Blaster fire rained down from the ship above, sending up sparks and smoke. Ethan and Lyra jumped into the pod, sealing the hatch behind them. As the escape pod blasted away from the outpost, Ethan looked at Lyra. She stared straight ahead, her hands gripping the controls. In that moment, Ethan knew his life would never be the same. Whether he believed her story or not, he was now running with a woman who called herself his wife, and his only hope of survival lay in the secrets of a wedding he could not remember. The escape begins. The escape pod shook as it launched into the cold darkness of space. Ethan gripped the seat, his knuckles white, while Lyra worked quickly at the controls. Bright lasers from the enemy ship sliced past the window, close enough to light up the pod's walls with red flashes. Every second felt like it might be their last. Ethan kept stealing glances at Lyra as she moved, her silver hair falling over her eyes, her metal fingers typing commands with perfect speed. Even in the chaos, she looked calm, almost fearless. But Ethan could see her jaw trembling just a little, and it made him realize she was scared too. "Are we going to make it?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Lyra did not answer right away. Instead, she twisted a dial and pulled a red lever. The pod spun suddenly, dodging another burst of enemy fire. "I don't know," she said at last, her eyes fixed on the glowing screen. "They came much faster than I expected." Ethan looked out the tiny window. The enemy ship was huge, like a black shark swimming through the stars. Smaller fighters launched from its sides, speeding toward them. The escape pod was old and not made for battle. "Can't we hide?" Ethan asked. Lyra shook her head. "Not here. We have to reach the debris field there, near those asteroids. If we can hide there, maybe we can lose them." Suddenly, the pod was hit. Alarms screamed. The lights flickered. Ethan felt a jolt of fear. What was that? He yelled, "They hit our engine." "We're losing power," Lyra replied. She opened a hidden panel and started working with wires. Sparks flew, but she didn't stop. She looked more machine than human now, her hands moving faster than any normal person could. "I need you to take the controls, Ethan. Hold this steady. Don't let us spin." Ethan swallowed hard. He had never piloted anything like this before, but he slid into the seat. The pod shook as he tried to keep it straight. Lyra handed him a strange silver rod. "If the power goes out, press this," she said. Behind them, one of the enemy fighters drew closer. Through the rear camera, Ethan saw its dark shape, glowing red weapons charging up. He could almost feel the heat of the lasers. Lyra finished fixing the wires just in time. The pod's lights returned, brighter than before. She jumped back into her seat. "We're not finished yet," she said, determination flashing in her eyes. With a burst of speed, she guided the pod straight into the asteroid field. Rocks spun past on every side. It was a wild, dangerous path. Ethan felt his heart pounding, but Lyra guided them expertly, dodging boulders with quick movements. The enemy fighters hesitated, afraid to chase too closely. "Why are they after us?" Ethan asked, still gripping the controls. Lyra glanced at him. They're afraid of the truth. If you remember who you are and what we are together, it could stop the war. They need you to forget me." Ethan shook his head. "But why me? I'm just a soldier." "No, Ethan," Lyra said softly. "You are more than that. You were the hope of two worlds." Suddenly, one of the fighters fired again. A rock exploded just beside them. The pod spun, metal groaning. Ethan's vision blurred, but Lyra kept them moving, faster and deeper, into the asteroid field. Finally, they found a gap in the rocks, just big enough for the pod to slip inside. For a moment, everything was quiet. The enemy ships circled outside, searching, but none could see them hidden in the shadows of the giant stones. Ethan slumped in his seat, breathing hard. "Did we lose them?" he asked. Lyra nodded, her eyes still watchful. "For now. But they won't stop. We need to find a safe place, somewhere they can't follow." Ethan looked at her, fear and confusion mixing with something else, admiration. Lyra was more than just an alien. She was brave and clever, risking everything to save them both. For the first time, Ethan felt a flicker of trust. Lyra reached into her suit and pulled out a tiny, cracked photograph. She handed it to Ethan. It showed the two of them, smiling side by side on a strange world, stars above their heads. Ethan stared at it, his heart aching with a feeling he could not explain. "I don't remember this," he whispered. "You will," Lyra said softly. "Your memories are inside you, waiting to wake up." Ethan stared out the window at the spinning asteroids and endless black sky. His old life, his safe life, was gone. Ahead was only mystery and danger, but also the chance to find out the truth about himself, and about the woman who called herself his wife. As the escape pod drifted deeper into the darkness, Ethan realized this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, his real past and his real future waited to be discovered. Secrets in the stars. The escape pod floated deep among the silent asteroids, hidden in darkness and silence. Outside, the enemy ships searched, their lights sweeping across the stones. But Lyra's careful piloting kept them out of sight. Inside, the air was tense and still. Ethan looked at Lyra, questions burning inside him. For a while, neither of them spoke. Ethan listened to the faint hum of the pod and his own quick heartbeat. He could not get the memory of the wedding out of his head. It felt so real, but so impossible. Who was he really? And who was Lyra, this mysterious alien girl, half machine, who risked everything to save him? At last, Lyra broke the silence. "We're safe for now," she whispered, her eyes scanning the monitors for any sign of danger. She looked tired, but her face stayed strong. Ethan turned the photograph over and over in his hands, the one she'd given him earlier. "Why me, Lyra?" he asked quietly. "Why would anyone risk so much for me?" Lyra looked at him, her blue eyes shining in the half-light. "You are not just a soldier, Ethan. You were a symbol, someone who could end a war that has lasted for years." She paused, then continued. "Long ago, humans and cyborgs were enemies. There was so much pain, so much loss. Our marriage was a promise to both sides. If a human and a cyborg could love each other, maybe there was hope for everyone." Ethan shook his head. "But I don't remember any of this. All I know is what you say, and some strange dreams in my head. I want to believe you, but how can I be sure?" Lyra smiled sadly. "Memories can be hidden, but true feelings never disappear." She reached out and touched his hand, warm and cool at the same time. Human skin and soft metal dots. Suddenly, a faint beeping came from the control panel. Lyra's smile faded. She pressed a button, and a small screen lit up, showing a coded message. The language was strange, but Ethan caught a few words. "Warning, do not trust. Betrayal near." Lyra's face went pale. "They found us again," she said, voice shaking. "And they sent a warning someone close to you is working for them." Ethan frowned. "Who?" "I don't know anyone here except you." Your old unit, Lyra said. The commander, Captain Harris, he was once your friend. But now he works for those who want to keep the war going. He's searching for us. Ethan's mind spun. Captain Harris, he remembered the name. A friendly face in flashes, but nothing more. He would never betray me, Ethan said quietly, but his voice was unsure. Lyra shook her head. He already has. He helped erase your memory. He's the reason you forgot everything, Ethan. The truth stung. Ethan looked away, struggling to believe. What do we do now? Lyra reached for another device, pulling out a small golden cube. This is our only chance, she said. It's an ancient cyborg key. If we reach the Star Temple on my home planet, we can unlock your memories fully. But it's a dangerous place. Many don't want us to succeed. Ethan took the cube, feeling its strange energy. He made a decision in that moment. Let's do it. I want to know the truth no matter what. Suddenly, the pod shook with a loud boom. Lights flickered. On the screen, a huge shape appeared. Captain Harris's ship had found them. A voice rang out, filling the small pod, cold and sharp. Ethan Reeves, this is Captain Harris. Surrender the cyborg. You're in danger. She's controlling your mind. Open your pod and we'll save you. Lyra gripped Ethan's arm, her eyes wide with fear. Don't listen to him, he's lying. He wants to separate us forever. Ethan felt torn, his mind swirling with doubt. The voice of his old friend, the promise of safety. But then he looked at Lyra and felt the strange ache in his chest. He remembered her eyes, the way she risked her life for him, and the small, warm smile in the lost memory of their wedding. He took a deep breath and made his choice. We're not surrendering, we're going to the Star Temple. Lyra nodded, relief filling her face. With quick hands, she activated the pod's stealth system, making them almost invisible to the scanners. They drifted silently among the asteroids, as Harris's ship searched in vain. Outside, the stars seemed to watch as they slipped away into the unknown, holding secrets no enemy could steal. Inside the pod, Ethan and Lyra sat side by side. For the first time, Ethan felt a tiny spark of hope. He still didn't remember his past, but he trusted Lyra now. Together, they would uncover the truth, no matter how many dangers waited among the stars. Betrayal and revelation. As the escape pod moved deeper into space, Ethan watched the tiny lights of Captain Harris's ship fade behind the drifting asteroids. Inside the pod, the air felt thick with worry and questions. Lyra stayed quiet, her eyes focused on the navigation screen, but Ethan could see tension in the way her metal fingers tapped the console. Finally, Lyra broke the silence. We don't have much time, Ethan. The Star Temple is far, and our fuel is low. But there's another way, a human supply station not far from here. We can stop and refuel, but... She hesitated, her voice thin. If we go there, we risk being found. Ethan nodded slowly. It's a risk we have to take. We can't reach your planet on empty tanks. In his heart, he tried to push away the warning about betrayal, but it lingered like a shadow. Minutes later, the pod docked at the small supply station, orbiting the gray, frozen moon. The place looked abandoned, dark, quiet, only a few lights flickering in the windows. Lyra checked the sensors, scanning for danger. It's empty, she said, almost in a whisper. They stepped out, moving quietly through metal corridors coated with frost. As they reached the refueling station, Ethan saw a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye. He froze. Someone was watching them. Stay close, Lyra whispered, her hand tightening around his. This place feels wrong. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed through the hallway. Ethan, there you are. It was Captain Harris, stepping out of the shadows, a blaster in his hand and soldiers behind him. Ethan's heart jumped. For a moment, old loyalty fought with new doubt. Harris's face was calm, even kind. You're in trouble, Ethan. That Cyborg has put you under her spell. Come with us. We'll help you remember who you really are." Lyra moved between Ethan and Harris, her eyes fierce. "He remembers more than you think. He knows what you did." Harris sighed, shaking his head. "Don't listen to her, Ethan. She's programmed you with fake memories. You were never her husband. She's just using you to get past our defenses." Harris nodded to his soldiers. They raised their weapons, surrounding Lyra and Ethan. Ethan looked at Harris, searching for any sign of truth in his friend's eyes. For a second, doubt clouded his mind. Could Lyra really be lying? Were the memories just tricks? Lyra reached into her pocket and pressed the golden cube into Ethan's palm. "Trust yourself, Ethan. Trust your heart, not just your mind." Suddenly, a strange warmth flooded Ethan's body. The golden cube glowed, sending another rush of memories into his mind. He saw flashes of his life with Lyra, moments of laughter, fear, even arguments. He remembered the wedding, the promise, and the terrible night they were attacked. Most of all, he remembered Harris standing in the shadows, speaking to the masked attackers. Ethan gasped, stepping back. The truth hit him. Like a wave, Harris had betrayed him. The erasing of his memory had not been to protect Ethan, but to control him. "Harris, you lied to me," Ethan said, anger shaking his voice. Harris's face turned cold. "I did what I had to do. Peace with cyborgs is impossible. They're dangerous, Ethan. I had to save you from yourself." Ethan shook his head, his fear turning into courage. "You erased my life. You destroyed my chance for peace, my chance for love." Lyra stood beside Ethan, proud and unafraid. "You can't stop us now, Harris. The truth is stronger than any weapon." With sudden speed, Harris aimed his blaster at Lyra, but Ethan knocked his arm aside. A shot fired into the wall, sending sparks flying. The room erupted into chaos as Lyra fought off the soldiers with quick, powerful moves. Her metal arms blocked their attacks, her eyes full of determination. Ethan grabbed Harris, wrestling him to the ground. Harris struggled, shouting, "You're making a mistake, Ethan. She'd destroy you." But Ethan saw the truth now. He turned away from Harris, running to Lyra's side. Together, they escaped through a narrow vent, leaving Harris and his soldiers behind. Back in the pod, both of them gasped for breath. Lyra held Ethan's face in her hands, her eyes shining with relief and love. "You chose me," she whispered. "Even with all the lies, you found your way back." Ethan smiled for the first time in what felt like ages. "I trust you, Lyra. I remember. I won't let them take you from me again." As the pod sped away from the station, Ethan looked at the stars outside, feeling a new sense of purpose. The path ahead would be hard, but he was no longer lost. The truth had set him free, and now with Lyra by his side, nothing could stop them from reaching the Star Temple and ending the war once and for all. The lost memory returns, the stars stretched like silver rivers outside the small escape pod as it sped toward the distant cyborg world. Inside, Ethan sat quietly, holding the golden cube in both hands. The memories from the supply station haunted him, Captain Harris's betrayal, the fight for their lives, and the truth he'd finally seen in Lyra's eyes. Lyra set the pod's autopilot and knelt beside Ethan. She opened a secret compartment and took out a slim, silver headset. "This will help you remember everything," she said gently. "But it may hurt. Are you sure you're ready?" Ethan nodded. "I need to know, not just for me, but for both our worlds." Lyra placed the headset carefully on his head. "Close. Your eyes," she whispered. As the device powered on, Ethan felt a cool tingle run through his scalp. The golden cube glowed, connecting with the headset. Suddenly, a flood of sights, sounds, and feelings crashed into his mind. He was no longer in the escape pod. He was standing in a bright, sunlit garden on Lyra's planet. He saw himself laughing with Lyra, racing her between tall blue trees. He remembered the day she first told him her secret, that she was a cyborg, created to bring peace to her people. Instead of fear, Ethan had felt wonder. He remembered taking her hand, promising to help unite humans and cyborgs. The memories jumped. Now he stood at the front of a grand hall filled with humans and cyborgs together. It was their wedding day. Ethan felt Lyra's lips on his cheek, her soft hair brushing his face, her voice promising forever. The crowd cheered, and for a moment, peace seemed possible, but the happy memories turned dark. Shouts, smoke, blaster fire in the hall. He saw Captain Harris, hidden in the shadows, speaking to masked figures who charged the ceremony. Ethan tried to fight, but he was dragged away, Lyra's voice screaming his name. He remembered the sting of a needle in his neck, the darkness closing in, and then nothing. Ethan's eyes snapped open. His breath came in sharp gasps, tears streaming down his face. Lyra took his hands in hers, her metal fingers gentle. "I remember everything," Ethan whispered, his voice full of grief and wonder. "All the love, all the pain. Harris, he betrayed not just me, but everyone who wanted peace." Lyra nodded, tears in her own eyes. "That's why we can't stop now. You are the key, Ethan. If you speak the truth at the Star Temple, the old leaders will have to listen. Peace can begin again." Ethan looked at Lyra, seeing her as if for the first time. She was strong, beautiful, brave, and she had never given up on him. He felt new strength in his heart, powered by the memories he'd found again. Suddenly, the pod's alarm beeped, breaking the moment. Unidentified ship detect approaching fast. The computer's voice was cold and flat. Ethan jumped to the controls. On the screen, a giant warship loomed behind them, its symbol glowing in red, the mark of the hardliners who hated any alliance between humans and cyborgs. They were being hunted again. Lyra moved quickly, setting the pod to evasive maneuvers. "They can't catch us if we stay near the asteroid belt," she said. Lasers flashed outside, lighting the stars with sudden fire. The pod rocked, alarms blaring. Ethan held the controls steady as Lyra fired countermeasures, launching small flares and clouds of metal dust. But the enemy ship kept coming. Its captain spoke on the radio, voice full of hate. "Give up, Ethan Reeves. Surrender the cyborg, and your own life will be spared." Ethan pressed the transmit button, his voice clear and strong for the first time. "No, you can't erase the truth. We're coming to the Star Temple, and the whole galaxy will hear what you did." The enemy captain laughed, cold and cruel. "You will never reach the temple alive." But Ethan wasn't afraid now. With his memories back, he knew who he was and what he had to do. Lyra smiled at him, her eyes full of hope and pride. Together, they dodged through the asteroid field, racing toward the Star Temple. Enemy ships followed, but Ethan and Lyra were faster and braver. The odds were against them, but the truth was on their side. For the first time since this wild journey began, Ethan felt sure of his path. Whatever waited at the Star Temple, danger, hope, or war, he would face it with Lyra. No more running from his past, no more lost memories. The future would be written by their courage, together. United against the enemy, the escape pod roared out of the asteroid field, battered but not broken. Ethan and Lyra could see their destination ahead, a giant space station shaped like a shining star, floating over the blue-green planet of Lyra's people, the Star Temple. Hope and fear filled the small pod as enemy ships chased them like angry wasps. Lyra checked the controls. "We're almost there, Ethan. If we dock at the temple, the whole council will have to listen. They can't hide the truth anymore." Ethan nodded, his hands shaking with excitement and nerves. "What if they don't believe us?" Lyra gave him a soft, tired smile. "They will, if you speak from the heart. You're not just a human or a soldier now. You're the bridge between worlds." Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the pod. "Enemy!" Fighters had fired one last missile. Lyra fought the controls, her metal arms sparking as she steered the pod toward the docking bay. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the cabin. "Hang on!" Lyra shouted Dot with a final burst of speed. The pod slammed into the docking bay. The doors closed just as another missile exploded outside, rocking the whole station. For a few seconds, everything was silent. Ethan and Lyra tumbled out of the pod, coughing and covered in dust. Temple guards rushed over, their armor gleaming. Weapons drawn. Lyra held up her hands. "We seek the council," she cried. "This man holds the truth that can save us all." A crowd gathered as they were led inside the great hall of the Star Temple. The council sat on high seats, half human, half cyborg, their faces old and wise. News cameras floated in the air, broadcasting everything to the galaxy. Millions would watch. Ethan felt every eye on him. Captain Harris appeared, flanked by enemy soldiers. He pointed at Lyra. "That cyborg is a traitor. She's brainwashed Commander Reeves." "Don't listen to them." Murmurs swept the hall. Ethan's hands clenched. He saw Lyra's fear, but also her strength. He stepped forward, holding the golden cube and the photo of their wedding. He took a deep breath and let his memories and his heart speak. "I am Ethan Reeves," he said, his voice strong. "I once fought in the war. I hated cyborgs. But then I met Lyra, and everything changed. I remembered our wedding, our love, and the peace we wanted for everyone. But Captain Harris and others erased my memory because they feared what we represented, hope." He held up the cube. "This holds the proof. Watch." Lyra touched the cube, and a hologram sprang to life, showing memories of the wedding, the peace agreement, and Harris's betrayal. The whole room gasped as the truth played out before their eyes. Council members stood. "Is this real?" one asked. Lyra nodded, tears in her eyes. "Ethan and I risk everything to show you. We can have peace, but only if we end the lies and hatred." For a moment, the hall was quiet. Then a human elder spoke. "We have seen enough war. Let the healing begin." A cyborg elder added, "Let this marriage be the first step." But Captain Harris drew his blaster, desperate and wild. "No. The war must continue. Humans can never trust machines." He fired at Ethan, but Lyra leapt in front, her metal arm catching the blast. Guards swarmed Harris, taking him down. Ethan caught Lyra as she stumbled. "You saved me again," he whispered, holding her tight. She smiled through the pain. "That's what wives do." Outside, enemy ships fled as news spread. The truth was out. On every planet, people saw the wedding, the promises, and the courage it took to break the cycle of hate. The council declared an end to the war. Ethan and Lyra's story became a symbol of hope, broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. Later, as Lyra's wounds were treated and peace talks began, Ethan stood beside her on a balcony of the Star Temple. Stars shone above, brighter than ever. Lyra leaned against him, warm and alive. "We did it," Ethan said softly. Lyra smiled. "We did it together." Hand in hand, they looked to the future, a future they had built with courage, love, and the power to forgive. The war was over, but their story was only just beginning.